Hello and welcome to another week, another episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Joy Ravella. Today we are going to be talking about receiving well, because we can often talk about generosity, right? It's easy, I think, for us as Christians to give and to make giving a part of our lives. But how good are we at receiving? Well, let's take a look at today's verse.
Jesus said, "Give to others and you will receive. You will be given much. It will be poured into your hands, more than you can hold. You will be given so much that it will spill into your lap. The way you give to others is the way God will give to you." Luke 6:38 from the ERV.
So before we get into today's verse, I would love for you to send through an email to everydayjoy@positivemedia.com.au if you have any thoughts, feedback. I've been reading all of your emails and it's just been delightful to have so many listeners from so many different walks of life enjoying this podcast. And when you listen and when you like, when you follow, when you subscribe, you ensure that more and more people discover this podcast and, more importantly, the message of Jesus. Right, let's get into today's conversation. I've got Jackie here in studio with me. Jackie, so good to have you.
It's so good to be here, Joy.
Today is the last day of your 40s.
It is.
Our little birdie told me that tomorrow is...
Happy birthday!
Your birthday. Woo! Okay, wow, they've got some woos put into there. Well, you got a whole team saying happy birthday. Honest question, how are you feeling about turning 50 tomorrow?
No, there's no turning 50. I don't know what you're talking about.
I am permanently now at 49 for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I may just start regressing. Like this year I'll turn 49 again. Next year it'll be 40. I'm actually okay with it.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think I am. I know there's something probably really biblically significant about turning 50 and it being a new season and a new section, of life.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that as well.
Oh, me too. And we've got to catch up on that a little bit later. So today we are taking a look at Luke chapter 6, verse 38. For me, it just screams one word, which is abundance. Just a lot. This verse just seems so full, things being poured into your hands. And I just love the last little bit of the verse because it says, this is the way God gives to you, not like, here, take a penny, or here, take a grain of rice. It's just this beautiful abundance. So that's what comes to mind for me. What about you, Jack?
When I first read this verse out of context, I have a little bit of a gut reaction where I'm like, oh my goodness, this is justifying a whole prosperity gospel attitude towards God and how we can be quite transactional. But when I read it in context and I go back a couple of verses and hear Jesus talking to us about, the poor in spirit will inherit the kingdom of God. Those who hunger will be filled. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. It becomes this beautiful verse about God's, as you say, abundant love for us and his willingness and his heart for us and how he wants to pour out in us, how he wants the best for us.
Yeah. What does it reveal to you about what matters to God?
I think you go back a couple of verses and we have the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. What more could we see from the heart of God?
Yeah.
Love others, do good, heal, go forth, be my disciples. All of those things just come together in this verse and say, well, and I love you this much.
Yeah.
That I'm going to abundantly pour out on you. And it's actually a really beautiful, wholesome, whole of life fulfillment of everything that God is.
Yeah. And I think this verse is it's like one half of the equation, right? Because it's all about giving. But there's the other half of it, which is learning to receive God's generosity, learning to receive generosity from others. In your own life, how do you manage the other half of that equation? Because I think for all of us, the idea of being generous sits well, and it's something that we're like, yeah, I can do that. I can definitely be a generous person. But sometimes receiving is the tough bit.
Oh, totally. I'll be generous till the cows come home. You can come to my house. I'll feed you. I'll lend you whatever. You can literally have the clothes off my back if you need them.
Well, I do like that top you're wearing, Jack.
Thank you so much. But receiving that, is something that I really struggle with, particularly from other people.
Right.
You know, you have those moments where somebody's like, oh, I'd just love to bless you with this. And you're like, oh, well, next week I can do this for you. And no, that's not the point. The point is actually, you know, how do we learn to accept that and just be grateful and see it as a blessing from God?
Yeah, it's hard. I think for me, when feel really safe and happy just receiving, but a lot of my life experiences, and probably most of us listening, have taught us that when people give us something, that there's always something we'll have to give back. I mean, the dating scene. Oh my goodness. Oh, I was literally like, I will not let you pay for dinner. You cannot pay for this. Because in my mind, I was like, now I'll owe this person something. And I don't want to owe them anything. And so it was like, nah, we're splitting the bill halfway. Or I'll even go a step ahead and be like, it's my shout.
Yeah. This one's on me. Got it.
So, yeah, I think for me, like, it plays out in so many different ways in my life. How do you combat that? Like, how do we receive well?
Yeah. And how do you receive with grace?
Yeah.
I think it's a key. I have now learnt, I won't say I'm 100%, but I have now learnt when somebody says, oh, you just look great today.
Yeah.
You look really good. Oh, thanks so much. That's lovely. Rather than, oh, you know, well, I got the top on sale, you know, just down at Target. You have to, it has to be a conscious thing. And you have to like have that moment of pulling yourself up and then saying, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to belittle your compliment. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I put a lot of effort into this today.
Yeah. And I think that would really change the way we engage with others, because I knew, I know of a person in my family who it literally is, you say anything nice to them and it's deflected, or it's kind of just shoved away in a corner, so much so that I'm almost preempting that, so I don't say it.
Yeah.
Because
that cuts off the blessing of God as well. You know, as much as, you know, people, why would I compliment them? They're just going to throw it back in my face, or they're not going to accept it, or they're going to make an excuse for it, or, you know, as you say, deflect it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Basically what it comes down to is pride, fear, and learning to accept the love and the grace of God.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I moved house recently, and a lovely couple from my church said, hey, do you need any help? Natural response, no, I think we've all got it. I think we've got it all sorted. Right. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the guy was really insistent. He's like, no, we're expert movers. We'll do anything. Just give me a call. And I didn't. And then I ran into him at church the following week, and he said, where are you up to? And I was like, oh, you know, we're pretty much moved, but all I've got to do is just clean the other house. We're really good at that. We'll come and help. I was like, oh. And I paused and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it all by myself. I hate doing end of lease cleaning. Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's hard work. Yeah.
And then literally had this thought that came to me that was like, you need the help. You don't want to do it yourself. This is a lot of work. Accept the offer. It's being made in the right spirit. They don't expect anything from you. And we had such a lovely day. We spent, wasn't a day. It actually turned out to be only a couple of hours because we had more people there doing more work.
That's right.
And it was lovely. You know, I spent 3 hours with this couple that are amazing, faith-filled people, have a beautiful story, and we worshipped, and we had, you know, worship music on, and it was amazing.
Today's conversation has been a flip of the idea around generosity. I mean, we're pretty used to the idea of giving, but how good are we at receiving? From the base level of being able to receive a compliment to being able to receive God's abundant blessings. I guess the way I see it is generosity is a coin. There are two sides to it. There's the giver and there's the receiver. And sometimes we can be great at giving because I think in some weird, wacky way it makes us feel like we're the ones in power, but somehow receiving makes us indebted. But that way of thinking can clog all of God's blessings and generosity towards you. He uses people the most to be his hands and feet as vehicles of his generosity. So maybe the next time someone compliments you or someone offers help, before rejecting it outright, maybe ask yourself first, is God's hand of abundant generosity behind this? Well, that wraps up today's episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. Jackie is going to be back tomorrow for episode 15. I'll catch you then.